Last week we picked some funky twists on the primary colors, red, yellow and blue, remember? Now let's put them to practice today. Welcome to Draw Tip Tuesday. I am Koosje Koenen and I want to draw with you. I've got my watercolors and my gouache at the ready to explore. If you watched last week's Draw Tip Tuesday video, you will remember last week's primary palettes. I hope you picked your own palettes, because today, let's play with them. From my watercolor palette, I chose Monta Amiata Natural Sienna, Quinacridone Rose and Ultramarine Blue. Then from the gouache palette, I picked Raw Sienna, Opera Pink, Cobalt Turquoise Light, and white, because white is a powerful color when using gouache. Let's use this reference photo and quickly draw it. I'm using my Faber-Castell Pit Oil-based pencil, drawing the subject twice so I can test my two palettes and paints. It's not about the perfect drawing, this is about exploring colors and materials. Let's paint! I'm using my Quinacridone Rose straight from the box, without mixing. Adding a bit of water will dilute the paint and can make for nice soft transitions. If you put down too much paint, quickly clean and dry your brush to pick up a bit of the excess paint with the dry brush. If you keep cleaning your brush between colors, you will keep your colors bright and fresh. And you'll keep your palette clean too. I now mix yellow and blue for green and paint the leaves. When I add some of the pink to my mixed green, I can create brown. Maybe that's too much pink. I add some blue and I like this warm color, so I use it for the branches and the table. Adding a bit more water will give the feeling of transparency of the glass. I am using that same brown to mix gray by adding some blue. That's too purple, so I add some yellow. Then it's too brownish, so I add some pink again and some blue. Mixing colors is a matter of trial and error, and the more you do it using the same set of colors, it becomes more intuitive. I use a gray for the metal, then mix in a bit of blue and more water for the glass, and add some of the gray for the drop shadows on the table. I mix some of the gray with the Quinacridone Rose, so I can add some darker shaded bits to the flower petals. Now let's do that again, playing with the other palette of my twist on primaries. Opera Pink for the petals. Then also some purple for darks and to tone it down a little. And let's not forget to use white. Of course you can simply dilute the paint and use the white of the page like with watercolors, but the opacity is a characteristic of this paint, so let's make use of it. Now I mix green using my versions of yellow and blue. It looks a bit muddy on the palette, but I like it on the paper. Make sure you mix enough of a color so that you don't run out and then have trouble mixing the same color again. I use the green and the purple to create brown for the stem. And when I add a little bit of blue, I get a wonderful gray. I forgot to color the table, so I make another brownish mix for it. It's a bit of a search for the right proportion of pigments for a neutral gray, but just keep mixing and you'll find what you're looking for. Adding drop shadows with my beautiful gray, then mixing green again because I forgot coloring the leaf on the table. Different than watercolor, gouache is opaque, and when the consistency of the paint is thicker than the layer below it, you can paint on top. For example, you can paint on top without diluting the layer below. For example, with a lighter color, like I'm doing here with a light pink. Then, for contrast, I add some more purple, and it's done. Because gouache paint is opaque, I lost some of my lines. I love lines, so I'm drawing them on top again, for more clarity on the subject. I like seeing these two versions side by side. And I think this exercise is really fun and can be done with all sorts of media. If you need an assignment, pick a simple subject and draw it twice. Once using watercolor and once using gouache, or any other medium that you have. Choose 3 primary colors, well, your twist on red, yellow and blue, and mix all your colors from those. Focus on exploring how the paints behave and how the colors mix, and maybe also how you can use transparency or opacity in your work. This is not about the perfect outcome, just have fun experimenting. I'll see you next week.